Okay, today we are moving on to 5.3, which is rates. So, a rate is a ratio of two quantities using different units. So, rate is going to be the first word we put on our notes. A unit rate compares a quantity to one unit of another. Okay, so a unit rate compares a quantity to one unit of another. Okay, a unit rate always has a denominator of 1. So I'm going to write denominator of 1, which is why it makes it easy to compare other quantities. Equivalent rates have the same unit rate. Okay, so in this first example, it says you pay $27 for 3 pizzas. Remember, a rate is written as A units to B units. So this would be, our rate would be $27 to 3 pizzas. Okay, so our rate is 27 to 3. That is how you would write it. Okay, a unit rate over on the right is A over B units to 1 unit, which basically means you're just dividing them so you can have a denominator of 1. Okay, so we would have A over B, which is 27 over 3 to 1. Okay, so now we would divide 27 divided by 3 is 9. So our unit rate is 9 to 1. So that means if it cost $27 for 3 pizzas, it would cost $9 for 1 pizza. Okay, so we use unit rates to compare things, and it makes it easy because we're finding out what one thing costs. Instead of 3 pizzas, we wanted to know how much 1 pizza costs, and it costs $9. Okay, so it always has that denominator of 1, which means this number on the right is always 1 if it's a unit rate. The double number line shows the rate at which TikTok stars earn money for receiving likes on videos. Write a rate that represents the situation. Okay, so up top, that is likes. And on the bottom, we're going to put dollars. So that means for every 150 likes, they get $1. For every 300 likes, they get $2. For every 450 likes, they get $3, and so on. Okay, so any of these are rates. So if we chose this one, our rate would be 450 to 3. If we chose this one, it would be 750 to 5. Okay. These are all equivalent rates because if you simplify each of these, you would get 150 to 1. Okay, so if we divided both of these by 3, just like a fraction, 450 divided by 3 is 150, and 3 divided by 3 is 1. If we divided 750 by 5, both of them by 5, we would get 750 divided by 5 is 150. 5 divided by 5 is 1. Okay, so that means 150 to 1 is our unit rate because it has a denominator of 1 on each of these. Okay, so that's what it says up here. Equivalent rates have the same unit rate. So every single one of these has the same unit rate. Okay. So now if we want to find a unit rate, remember that means we're going to be dividing. We're going to have A over B to 1. So it says a piece of space junk travels 5 miles in 8 seconds. How far does it travel per second? So that per second, remember that's 1 second. That's why it's going to be a unit rate. So it says a piece of space junk travels 5 miles in 8 seconds. So we're going to create a table. You should remember how to do this from last class. So we're going to have miles, and we're going to have seconds. Okay, it travels 5 miles in 8 seconds. So that is our first ratio, 5 miles in 8 seconds. It wants to know how far does it travel per second. So per second, we're trying to get to 1. So I made the table a little big. So now, just like last class, we're trying to figure out how do we go from 8 to 1. On all of these, I believe you're going to be multiplying or dividing. Okay, so get adding and subtracting out of your head. So to go from 8 to 1, we divide by 8. So that means you have to do that on the top. We're doing 5 divided by 8, and we're just going to leave that as a fraction. So we have 5 over 8. So that means the space junk travels 5/8 of a mile in 1 second. Okay, so it's moving pretty fast. And that's our answer, is 5/8. 5/8 of a mile. And I do want you to label. Next, it says a train travels 558 miles in 3 hours. How far does it travel every hour? So again, we're finding the unit rate. So we're going to create our table. We're going to have, again, miles. This time it's going to be hours instead of seconds. Our first ratio is 558 miles in 3 hours. We want to know how far does it travel every hour. So we're going to change our 3 to a 1. Okay, so how do we do that? Hopefully, you just do divided by 3. Okay, because 3 divided by 3 is 1. So we have to do that on the top. We're going to divide by 3. I don't know that on the top of my head, so I'm going to have to divide over on the side. 558 divided by 3. Hold on. Okay. 3 goes into 5 one time. 1 times 3 is 3. And then we have to subtract. 5 minus 3 is 2. And bring down your 5. How many times is 3 going to 25? Goes in 8 times. 8 times 3 is 24. 25 minus 24 is 1. Bring down your 8. And then how many times does 3 go into 18? Goes in 6 times. So our answer is 186. So it travels 186 miles in 1 hour. And that's our final answer. Next. Now we're going to be finding equivalent rates. So this is just like what you did last class when you do it in the ratio table. But this time, we're going to be going down to a unit rate instead of finding a common number between the two numbers. So, it says Ms. Renshaw is hosting her family barbecue. She buys 6 pounds of T-bone steaks. It's supposed to say she buys 6 pounds of T-bone steaks for $78. So 6 pounds equals $78. How much will she pay for 9 more pounds of T-bone steaks? So, we're going to start with cost in our table. And then we're going to talk about pounds. Okay, so we have cost and pounds. So our first ratio, it costs 6 pounds for $78. It says, how much will she pay for 9 pounds of T-bone steaks? So, we're trying to get to 9 pounds. So I put it on the bottom with pounds. And then, so yesterday we would have found a number, or last class, we would have found a number that 6 and 9 have in common. So you would have done 3. But this time, we're going to go down to the unit rate. And our unit rate is always 1. So we're going to go, how do we go from 6 to 1? We divide by 6. We're going to do that on the top as well. So 78 divided by 6. I don't know that off the top of my head, so I'm going to come down here, and I'm going to divide. 6 goes into 7 once. 1 times 6 is 6. Then subtract. 7 minus 6 is 1. Bring down your 8. And 6 goes into 18 3 times. So 78 divided by 6 is 13. Okay? So next, how do we go from 1 to 9? We multiply by 9. Whatever we do at the bottom, we have to do the top. So on the top, you're going to multiply. So we have to do 13 times 9. I'm going to do that right here. 3 times 9 is 27. 9 times 1 is 9. Plus 2 is 11. So we get 117. So that means I will pay $117 for 9 pounds of T-bone steaks. Okay. Hey, I want you to try this next one on your own, but I forgot information on that one too. So on this one, 2 pounds equals $16. 16. Oh my gosh. Okay, go ahead and pause the video and see if you can do this one on your own. Okay, so I'm going to start with my ratio table. I'm going to do the same thing that I did on the left. So I'm going to have cost, and I'm going to have pounds. So my starting ratio is 2 pounds is $16. Says Miss Renshaw buys 2 pounds of ribeye steak for $16. How much will she pay for 7 pounds of ribeye steak? So I'm trying to get to 7 pounds. So I'm going to go find my unit rate. So I'm going to divide 2 by 2 to get to 1. Because 2 divided by 2 is 1. And to get my unit rate, I have to have a denominator of 1. So then on top, I do 16 divided by 2, which is 8. And then, how do I go from 1 to 7? I multiply by 7. So you're basically dividing to get to your unit rate and then multiplying by whatever you need to because you're at 1 already. So then on top, we have to do times 7. So we have 8 times 7, which is 56. So that means it costs $56 for 7 pounds of ribeye steak.